I'm back, bitches. This is WENK, the weekly AEW news kick. I'm your host, Tom, after a one-episode absence, my first yet. Apologies to everyone for the inferior episode. I haven't heard it yet. It's not even up yet, but I'm just assuming it's inferior because it hasn't got me on it. We are joined, as always, by my German friend, Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Weekly AEW newscast. Oh.
Lovely. And just going to breeze right past that. And you've heard of Jack White. You've heard of Jack Black. He's our very own Jack Ginger. It's AEW's... Well, we're not that big yet. We're not officially endorsed. WENK's sound engineer, Jack Griffin. How's it going, Jack?
Hello, everyone. Tom, it's great to have you back. And just to clarify, the last episode was the best we've done so far. It was the Revolution
That's such a horrible thing for you to say.
Patrick's an amazing
Yeah,
host.
we've been through so good, like 1.5 hours through, without any, I think Jack doesn't have to do any cuts in it. That's
honestly,
so good.
honestly, it's that good. Honestly.
No, good to have you back, Tom, also.
Always.
It's good that the death triangle of the podcast is back. I didn't have another better comparison, sorry.
I'd imagine it's quite a different tone. Once it goes up, it'll be quite conversational because it's just the two of you, not really a host. It's just a chat between mates.
Yeah, sometimes it's needed. But it was a shame you missed our first pay-per-view review, but nonetheless, Double or Nothing, you've got that to look forward to now.
I have. Well, that was our first pay-per-view. I think it's all right. I did the award show, etc.
Yeah, that was, bigger episode.
Yeah, let's say that. How's everyone been? All good?
Really
Nothing
busy.
to report?
Really busy.
Good. I'm stuffed like a turkey, but I'm fine.
With food, I'm presuming.
Yeah, soup. I don't know if I ate it or drank it. I did both, so soup is always an in-between thing. But yeah, I'm
not got Hugh round off camera.
No.
I'm coming back with a vengeance. Right, we didn't play the Return of the Mac song because we couldn't get it to rhyme with my name because we got Return of the Jack, Return of the Pat.
If that's even more reason to kick you off the podcast, then
Think of a nickname for me quickly before we launch into it.
Cunt.
Iced tea. Then we have an iced tea
it
song you can play.
You guys are both missing the point of this exercise. It's supposed to rhyme with like Jack, Pat, Mac.
Cunt.
Never mind. Not even going to do it. It's no breaking news
Tom
report this week. So let's.
I don't know. There's nothing. Comes to my mind.
So let's launch straight into Dynamite. First off, we have Matt Jackson versus Phoenix. I can't remember ever seeing Matt Jackson in a singles contest, and I was trying to cast my mind back because Nick got injured, didn't he? And they wrote him out because had it with the Inner Circle attacking him. And I was thinking he must have had a singles match then, but no, the only one I remember on... In fact, I only ever remember seeing Nick Jackson in singles matches. I remember one on Dynamite, which was against Phoenix, I believe, as well. And I remember seeing him in a Chikara match with Kota Ibushi, Jigsaw, and El Generico, who some say is Sami Zayn, but I have yet to see proof. But yeah, I don't remember ever seeing Matt Jackson in a singles match. And Excalibur himself said he's only ever called 2 or 3 Matt Jackson matches in the entire time they've known each other, their entire career. Thoughts on this match? Let's go to Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Patrick.
Thank you. I won finally something in my life. the match graphic said, I think it was 1,812 days are gone since he had his last singles match on a show.
Put that into years for us. Quick maths.
Let me see, 5.5 years almost.
Fair enough.
Six years almost.
This is definitely not on Dynamite or AEW for that matter.
No, definitely not. Maybe even Impact or so. I don't know. Their WXW match against each other was 2011. That's too far away, but they had a singles match against each other.
WXW against each other?
Yeah, against each other. Matt Jackson versus Nick Jackson.
Can't believe they'd waste that on Germany.
Yeah, right. On German soil.
I think that would be a Tokyo Dome sort of thing. No, yeah, right. I'm very happy for you. Bastard.
Thank you. I'm also very happy. The match was quite good. What else to expect from Ray Phoenix versus Matt Jackson? Other to say than, yeah. They had some nice combinations in there, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I'll run you through it and then we can go on to it more.
Yeah, you can do that first.
So, also, before the match started, they mentioned that Pac was with the Young Bucks when they first ever went to Japan, which was with Dragon Gate, because he went back to Dragon Gate before he came to AEW, didn't he? After he left WWE and won their big title over there. So Pac's got quite the history with Dragon Gate. Yeah, and it says Phoenix. There's another stat they gave was that Phoenix has won 10 singles titles in his career, which is obviously less than Matt Jackson. Started out, Phoenix was very much on the offense as the match started, which is always good from a Phoenix match, because I think that's the best Phoenix matches are when he's mostly on the offense. Do you know what I mean? We saw in the Lance Archer match. You guys rated the Phoenix Lance Archer match. My problem with it was when it really slowed down when Lance Archer was in control and he grounded him. But to their credit, they kept Phoenix on the offense, and then when it switched and Matt Jackson was kind of on the offense, they did what they should do and had Phoenix. Instead of having him like grounded, they had him keep making these rallies to try and swing it back to him and showing off his reversals. Do you know what I mean? He'd reverse and then Matt would get the upper hand again and then he'd reverse. And so I think that's how you showcase Phoenix, because sometimes I feel like Phoenix, when he's in singles matches and not these multi-man tag matches or a tag match with his brother, he's against opponents who don't really kind of know how to get the best out of him. Do you know what I mean? But obviously Matt Jackson would, because he's awesome. There was a lot of, speaking of counters, there was a lot of nice counters. There was a nice counter from Matt, if you remember, when they go up top and Phoenix goes to give him a Hurricane Rana, and I think he ended up, did he powerbomb him off the, he powerbombed him in off, like, pretty much off the top rope. It was pretty insane. I just love how, like, in these matches, they just throw insane spots in there, and you're like, oh yeah, that happened. Do you know what I mean? Then Matt hit a couple of destroyers, one from the outside of the ring to the inside of the ring, and then he hit one out on the floor. I think he got a near fall on Phoenix. Then Phoenix went for a drop kick on him, ended up missing him, going through the ropes, hitting Nick on the outside, and Matt retaliated by getting out of the ring and super kicking Pac. Then they had a bit of a kind of a super kick off. They had like a kind of strike exchange where they were trading super kicks, and it was at this point we heard the AEW chant from the crowd. AE dubs. I don't remember hearing that for ages because it's been fake crowd for so long. Do you know what I mean? And the wrestlers aren't going to be chanting their own brand. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to be that up themselves. So it was really refreshing to hear that again. Then Phoenix got him in his, pretty much out of nowhere into his kind of pile driver finish where he gives him the little kick in the head before he drops him. And it was over. Jack, where did this fall on your kind of... Did you like it? I should just ask you that.
Did I like it? I did. I mean, it's hard not to like these type of matches, especially, when I put it, actually, this is our 10th episode, just 10th normal Dynamite review, so... Congratulations, everyone, for reaching this far. But no, nice. But no, and for those long-term listeners who listen to every episode, they'll know by now that these are my type of wrestlers. I love myself some high flyers and spot fest kind of, wrestlers. And these two produce that, and together they work really well. And
spot fest isn't usually said as a good thing,
Right.
You don't care, Jack's
No, yeah. I'm throwing it out there now. But no, basically, what I'm trying to say is these two have some great moves in their locker. Have some, great moves up their sleeves, and we saw it. And it was nice, kind of teased, because obviously in the Revolution review, when you can listen that me and Patrick did, you can obviously hear the result of the tag team battle royal. Pac and Ray Phoenix won that, and this was just a little teaser of 50% of that future match they're going to have with the Young Bucks. Obviously, Matt Jackson and Ray Phoenix, that's 50%. And yeah, it was a nice little teaser, nice little warm-up, and, got to see what these two do in singles action, which we don't tend to see too much, especially Matt Jackson, but Ray Phoenix as well, we don't see too much, really, singles. So, Tom's got a little bit...
Seen him more recently, haven't we?
Yeah, seen him more recently, but I think that's more because
against his brother.
Yeah, and
we saw him against his brother while his brother was here twice.
Yeah, and when he was injured, Penta was injured.
You shut your mouth then.
Honestly, I feel like I've talked too much today. That just words aren't coming out right.
Penta wasn't injured, by the way. But yeah,
there you go. Right,
yeah, he had visa issues. Why are you even here?
Should I just fuck off? Right, I'm just gonna wrap this bit. I liked it. It was nice. Let's move over to Patrick.
Jack has stood up and left the building.
Yeah, like I said before, what else can you expect from a match with these both guys. Really crazy moves in between. A very solid match. Nothing very, very, very good, but still good and solid match. And I think that goes through the whole episode that the matches were all good, not extraordinary good, but just good. But more important was what happened in between the matches, storylines. Or now in the end of the match, they were just staring each other down, and that Ray Phoenix hit Nick Jackson outside. That was what I just had to bring that in order. Maybe to bring that a little bit like together again, keep the guys from outside involved in the match, because I think they didn't interrupt so much in the match as I would have thought, or at least Pac. It was fine, but yeah, good match. What else to expect from them, right?
I mean, it was a predictable outcome for me as well, because I, for one thing, I expect the champ to put over the challenger in that way in a non-title match, in a one-on-one in a tag team feud, just to not kind of kill the storyline in its infancy. Do you know what I mean? But also the fact that I think Matt and Nick are probably going to retain. I don't know about you, and have that match with SCU, the titles versus retirement match. So I
sorry,
think
just a quick question. Maybe you could answer it, or Jack? Where do all the wins from SCU come from now? Was it again like a dark streak for the last 10 weeks?
It'll be dark, yeah.
I always see their names pop up at the bottom.
Yeah, but I looked in the audience where they zoomed to the audience and showed them they were like number 1 ranked tag team now for the titles. I was like, did I miss something? Was I in a parallel universe? Or
that's what they do with Dark, don't they? When they want to push someone, they just get them loads of wins on Dark and it pushes them up the ranking. And as we've already said, it's a bit of an unfair way of doing it, but that's what they choose to do, and we're just here to review it.
Mm-hmm. As I said, it's the outcome I expected. Still a good match. As you say, this was a really good match, and as you would expect from Matt Jackson and Phoenix. And yet, I'd say it was probably only the third best match on a 5. Well, one of the matches didn't really count, so I'll say a 4-match card. It was the third best match on a 4th-match card for me, which is insane given how good it was. Do you know what I mean? But there was a couple of other really good ones. One I wasn't so keen on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Following on from this, we had the much anticipated Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston segment, putting into context and explaining the events at the end of Revolution. As I said, I haven't heard you guys' show yet, the Revolution show. It's not up yet, and obviously I won't be listening out of protest when it is. But I don't know what you covered, but I'll just quickly give my thoughts on the finish. I mean, you've probably already said it all. I assume you mentioned it was probably a botch from the company they hired. But my opinion of it is, why didn't they have a test of it first? You know what I mean? Was it just to save for budgetary reasons, like they're not going to do it twice and they're not going to pay out double the pyro? I mean, look how much pyro they give Cody every week. Are they not willing to at least do a quick test? I mean, I said this on Reddit. All they had to do to sell this, and this is the last I'll speak of it because I'm sure you've done it to death because it was the main talking point on the podcast not last week, the last episode. All they had to do, and they could have kept this level of explosion, and all they had to do was add a little more smoke and collapse the ring. How many times have we seen WWE rig the ring to collapse? Do you know what I mean? With Big Show, Brock Lesnar, but I think it's happened a little more recently than that. Was it Khali?
Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, I think, was it? Yeah.
There you go. So, I mean, if they'd just done that, they could have sold it. And I think there's a certain amount of good faith with wrestling fans, especially AEW fans, where they will... the ring will collapse and they'll go, and we'll know that they're not seriously hurt from a ring falling apart, but the visual aspect of it will make us go, oh yeah, oh god, oh, and buy into it, even though come on, we know they're not really hurt. Do you know what I mean? So there's a certain amount of good faith, there's a certain amount of disbelief we're willing to suspend as fans because we like this product. Do you know what I mean? And I think a collapsing ring and a little more smoke would have accomplished it. But even with the good faith that AEW fans give the product, there was no way. There was no redeeming it, was there? And people online were all talking about all they had to do was have Kingston stand up and say, is that what, is this a game? Is that all you got? But I mean, the funniest thing to me was Tony Khan selling it like it was planned afterwards. That guy needs to learn how to take criticism better, I feel, because he was getting his back up. He was like, I don't know what you wanted us to do, actually kill them in the ring and stuff like that. It's like, Tony, don't pretend this is how it was supposed to go down. Do you know what I mean? To the media scrum after the fact, and then trying to spin it as a storyline thing. It's like, we know this wasn't what you'd planned. But, I don't want to be too negative about it, because it was salvaged in a really good way, starting with this promo. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. So I like the bit now. This is the first part of the first view of it, or for the first person who has the view on it, which is Moxley was involved in the match and Kingston in the end as well. I think they sold that now pretty funny, like making fun of it. Like, first of all, to be Eddie Kingston can sell it so good to make it like a real proper thing, that he was really anxious or had like panic attack and was just laying.
He said it was PTSD from being in jail and not knowing, like being locked up and not knowing which jail he was going to be transferred to or whatever. Yeah,
right. So he sold that very good, and that's just an Eddie Kingston. We all know that it's different, but now you have to keep kayfabe up for watching this and just love about it. But I think they're just making a good bit out of it. And what I like the most is that Moxley also said that he doesn't matter like now what happened there. He's happy that he won a friend again after all this. Well, I think that's the nice outcome of the whole story still, where they should also focus on.
One thing I did really like about this segment was how Eddie and Mox came at it from different opinions. Like, Eddie thought that Kenny was just playing with Mox. Moxley thought that Kenny actually did rig the ring to explode and was just incompetent. And that kind of mirrors the fans' debate about it. Do you know what I mean? Because as fans, we're debating whether some wire didn't connect right and there was a botch in it and it was meant to explode more, or whether they really did just book that level of an explosion. Do you know what I mean? So they kind of mirrored the fan and the confusion about it, and like it's pretty genius. They've taken something which I think we always all knew it would be, but they took something real and spun it so that it's part of the debate. Do you know what I mean? It's the debates we were already having is kind of part of the actual debate now because of them kind of disagreeing. One thing it was quite funny as well. There was some funny moments where Eddie, in explaining that he thinks it was a joke by Kenny, he was like, he's the Joker and you're Batman, and Mox was disagreeing. He was like, yeah, I like that, but no. Like he liked being called Batman, and I liked how they ended it where I think Mox said, I wanted to see a bomb go off, and Eddie was like, yeah, a lot of people did though. So they even kind of acknowledged the disappointment amongst themselves without breaking kayfabe, which was really good. Jack, thoughts on this segment and how it kind of bookended Revolution?
Yeah, no, I thought it was clever. I thought they had to, didn't they? They had to do something with it. They couldn't just, they couldn't just left it. They couldn't have done, apology and just forget about it. They had to have some sort of play on it, and I thought they did quite well. You obviously touched on the key points there, so I'll just pretty much say I think that was the best way they could do it. I don't think they could have gone any other way. It's nice, as you said, where they've had the different of opinions, which replicates us as fans. And yeah, I think for what it was and what they had to do in a relatively short space of time to, string that story along and keep it, decency from it, some sort of positive from it. And I think they've done that quite well. And yeah, credit to Moxley and Kingston for doing that, really.
If anyone could do it, Eddie could. Next up, we had Cody Rhodes versus Seth. I want to say Gargis. And I say I want to say because they didn't announce him. The show came back with Cody coming to the ring, and it was a jobber already in the ring situation. They didn't even put a nameplate up for him. And then at first I heard Seth Vargas, but then it sounded like Gargis. And I think, I don't know, apparently this guy did something to make it on television. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the first thing I noticed, there's really not much to say about this match. Most of my critique of it happens before the match. Maybe this is for the best, but I can't hear a word Snoop Dogg is saying in Cody's entrance music because of the sound levels, because of the production, that they still haven't corrected the sound equalization of on Dynamite. And I think I know I said it'd be the last I talk about it, but with the exploding ring situation at the end of Revolution, there's a lot of calls to fire the production guy. Do you know what I mean? There's a head of production, because not just because of this, but because of the camera cuts and because of the mics that are never working, which actually happened right after this match as well, and with the sound level problems with the entrances. But like, literally all I hear is da 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 da. Like, I don't...
Sounds like Peter Griffin.
Very decent.
Yeah, that's all I hear. Like, and then my father said, like after his verse, like that's all I get. Really, not much to say about this match. They, like I said, they didn't introduce his opponent. He didn't do anything. He put in the figure 4. It was over. It wasn't about... I mean, this match was just an excuse to have Cody out there for the following segment. I mean, I don't think either of you guys have anything to say about this match. What can you say about it, right? I'll just move swiftly on. Moving swiftly on. Then Tony Schiavone huddled his way to the ring, the first of many this evening. Initially, Schiavone's mic did not work. Another production production issue I was just referring to, and then Cody made a whole thing about throwing him a new one and like, oh, let's laugh about it. Like, yeah, let's laugh about it, but it's been like 2 years now. Like, come on. Penta got up on Spanish commentary. We all realised he'd been on Spanish commentary. I mean, I assume the people listening in Spanish didn't just realise he was on Spanish commentary, but the rest of us did. Him and Alex, one of you guys knows his surname, I know.
Abrahantes.
Hey!
Both of you know his surname. How much of a punchable face does that guy have? Like he was just supposed to be working as a translator, but he was reveling in it. He just had this like nasty face on him. Like, Penta says you won't even be able to pick up your daughter. He just like this smile creeping across his face. Like, so why are you like just translate, dickhead? You're not the heel in this story. But he was, yeah.
That was my question. Is he the heel commentator? Is he the color commentator for the heels? That was my question. And he's on the Dark Order. Also should.
Please get in contact with us about it. Gracias. Then at some point, Penta to begin with, he had Alex Abrahantes, so I get that right, translate that if Cody's the Prince of Pro Wrestling, then Penta is the Lord of Lucha Libre. It was very snappy. Then Penta started speaking English, and the first thing he says was "You lost," but it's like, well, yeah, so did you, though. Like, so it kind of didn't really hit home for me, that. And then he goes on. He just goes off on Cody's baby, and this is the last thing for Cody. And he jumps out, and they kind of start punching at each other. JR didn't make the segment much better by doing what JR always does, and when something's a little off or something's a little not right, he calls it out. He's like, where did that come from? And then later in the night he was like, yeah, they were announcing the card for next week. He was like, that one came out of nowhere. It's like, Jesus Christ, JR, stop shitting on the product. You know what I mean? I'm surprised he didn't make it so much worse at Revolution. Do you know what I mean? He didn't like hop up and start, like, the guy has no tact. Patrick, do you have any thoughts on this segment and kind of the future of this feud, this feud that's in its infancy now?
Yeah, I like that a lot, that Penta finally said something and now gets his singles push a bit, now that Phoenix and Pac are the tag team of the Triángulo de la Muerte. Is that right? I think so. I'm really looking forward to it. I liked also what he said. Like you said, like Alex Abrahantes was a little overacting at that place and little like, oh, he said, you said. So he was really like a little like a spoiled brat, like,
shit
yeah,
stirrer.
she said that. Yeah. But I like that.
Imagine if he didn't say any of that. He said really nice things. Then Alex Abrahantes just wants to start a feud. I mean, I have a little bit of an ear for Spanish from study. I studied it for about a year recently, and I know that's not the case, but like part of me really wishes they could have done that.
Yeah. but I liked in the end that Penta was also speaking English, that he was doing a promo, and now that he gets a little bit the spotlight that usually Cody gets more and more. And I also like what he said. That was a real nice thing. I'm gonna break your arm or whatever, then that you cannot hold your newborn daughter. That was nice. That hit my emotions as well. That's like, yeah, okay, this guy I would also beat up. Let's go for it.
I have a question for you though. Would you say AEW need to up their reasons for feuds starting? Do you think when feuds start, they need more of a reason for them to start, or is having a guy just come out and say, we got aggressive with each other in a match, let's amplify this by me saying some insults, is that enough, or do they need to be looking for more concrete reasons for feuds to start?
I mean, this would be like in real life. This would be a reason for me to start a fight with somebody or to feud with somebody. Like to bring it on a football level. Like when I was on the pitch, I didn't know the guy, but he was tackling me off. There you go, boy. Like like I would be after this guy, and the next match we would have against each other, I would like, okay, I remember your face. So this is not far fetched, I would say. It's just like, okay, you're getting into each other, like not into each other, you're bumping onto each other, and you're like, hey, I don't like you either. Yeah. So that's just this mutual disagreement, and it's nice that then, in this case, Penta is the heel who comes out and says, yeah, dude, I want to fight you because you're just, I don't know, and it's like, yeah, okay, fine, let's fight. I think that's fine. It's not so random with WWE, because in WWE, it feels sometimes in segments or so that they're just starting a fight from nowhere, and here they really had. At
least they were in a match together, and it's
and he injured him, kayfabe, but injured him even more with that move. Although he knew that he was already injured, and he put pressure on that injury, or he focused on that injury. So that's quite nice. I guess.
So. I mean, like giving it the football analogy, bad sportsmanship. You see rivalries start all the time over that, and people remember, as you say, they remember the next. Pretty much the relationship Sergio Ramos has with every player he's ever come up against.
Probably, yeah.
Moving forward, we had a little promo with Orange Taylor and Chuck Cassidy. Orange Taylor and Chuck Cassidy.
Chuck Cassidy.
The most professional AEW podcast on the air, guys. Unprofessional. Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy in an arcade, of all places. Orange Cassidy was sat there playing a racing game that had no money in it. And Chuck was like, dude, you got to put the money in. He just laying back.
At least he put it in park when he got out again, so it didn't roll away.
That was
yes,
a nice
he put
touch.
That in park.
I didn't notice that, even though it was just on the menu. Brilliant. Chuck then challenged Kip and Miro to one last match, and if Miro and Kip win, then Chuck will be his butler for life. He's saying, that what I was doing for a month, I'll do it forever. They just want to get their hands on them one more time. It will be some sort of arcade-themed hardcore match with arcade machines surrounded. Because he's saying, you love arcade machines so much, blah, 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 with your, your Twitch shit and your silly arcade cabinet that you mourned for about 2 months. Let's surround the ring with arcade machines or whatever, and have some sort of, they didn't specify the match type yet, but I guess it'll be some sort of arcade pinball death match or something. Jack, thoughts on this segment?
Yeah, Patrick, in our Revolution review where I said this might be it over, it's not over, my friend. It's still clinging on for any sense of life. It's still got in it. I mean, where it stops, nobody knows. No, but I know in the Revolution review, I did say I hope this is over and it moves on to Miro falling out with Kip now. But I mean, if you're gonna have one last match, it's not the most stupidest reasons, Yeah,
I mean, and okay, so I'm coming from two places here, two minds. One mind, having an arcade theme, especially after what we just saw, it doesn't seem stupid. Do you know what I mean? They do seem like dangerous machines. They're covered in glass. They've got all knobs in the pinball stuff. Do you know what I mean? You shot someone on that, it's gonna fucking hurt. And we've had bar brawls. Why not an arcade brawl? It's not as dumb as when they had this flimsy arcade machine with a name that people only knew from Twitch that they brought on all the time. Alan, was it, or something? And having
and it wasn't even a real arcade machine. It was just a controller there, and it was empty from inside.
Exactly.
So.
But if they are actually to use real machines and breaking the glass on them, slamming someone on a pinball machine that shatters, I can see that being pretty dope. My other mind I'm coming from is, and I'll pose this as a question to you, Jack. Are they having too many gimmick matches? By which I mean the kind of, like the exploding barbed wire death match, and because that is one criticism AEW gets a lot. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
I'm going to say no to that question.
Give us more gimmick matches.
No, give us the exact amount of gimmick matches we're having. I think coming from my kind of background in wrestling and what I tend to enjoy more, I like the gimmick matches. I like, these matches with stipulations more than just a 1v1 normal match. Don't get me wrong, I like them matches as well. Mainly from like New Japan, I prefer their matches because of the sports kind of style and how we've said it before, where
it's unmatched, the in-ring quality in Japan.
Yeah. But no, I like these stipulations, and the more hardcore it is, the better for me. As the explosive barbed wire match I said I really enjoyed in our review, but no, it would. I think I like the amount of stipulations they're doing. I don't like the fact when they cling on to something for too long. For example, this feud, the Darby Allin Team Taz thing. I think, and I guess that's a reply to you, Tom, as a question. How long is too long for a feud?
Yeah, not as long as. Well, it's how long's a piece of string. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It depends on the quality
Some
of
matches,
the feud,
yeah,
and how many twists and turns it takes, and how because. Okay, so we'll come to this in a bit because Sting has regressed back to Sting from 3 weeks ago, which we will address in a bit. But, having Sting coming out every week and almost giving a promo and then getting interrupted and then doing nothing and going backstage again, that is not a feud I want to watch for a year. Austin McMahon, where 1 week he filled his car with cement and then the next week he fucking, do you know what I mean? He came down the ring and sprayed everyone with beer. And this is the thing, like, you remember the Attitude Era and you think, oh, these things must have happened apart. These memorable moments, and then in the hospital hitting him with a bedpan. This shit happened every week, like, back to back to back to back. All these kind of things you remember. It happened every week on Raw. And that's the kind of feud I could watch for 2 years. Do you know what I mean? This kind of feud, and more to the point, the Sting Darby Allin Team Taz feud is not the kind of feud I could watch for 2 years, 2 months, let alone 2 years. Do you know what I mean? Kenny and Mox is doing a better job of it, just additionally because they don't always focus on it and they take time off from feuding with each other. So that's been handled a lot better. But yeah, it does seem like this will be the end of it. I can't see Chuck Taylor being his butler for life, so I'm assuming we'll get a happy end to the feud with Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy winning, possibly to coincide with Trent's return. Do you know what I mean? Trent could return in the match and help him out, and then the three of them, best friends with the music, standing, victorious.
We're the three best friends that anybody could have.
Yeah. That was lame. Yeah, I can see that being how they end it with.
And then you could link it with a Miro Kit fallout that I predicted in Revolution, which eventually then sees a Miro singles run.
I mean, that's a way to keep Miro in the spotlight and give him a feud to win as well, which we all want to see, and also keep Kip on television, which is apparently something Tony Khan wants to see. so everybody wins.
Sure.
Yeah. Next up, we had Tony Schiavone. He's back again, folks, interviewing Sting. This is just what we were just talking about. Yeah. It's happening. It happened again, guys. He came out, he did his thing, and then he got interrupted by Lance Archer. And Lance Archer's Sesame Street word of the day just kept saying time over and over. He was like, "You've had your time, but now it's my time. And my time is about time." That he just kept saying time. He was like, "You think about your time." And then they're just like, time. And they just left. He just said time about 7 or 8 times.
He'll now have a shirt on Shop AEW from today that just says time. And it's Lance Archer breaking a clock or something.
About time. No, and then they just did what they always do. And Tony Schiavone, who brought Sting out to talk about this, to have an interview, just went, "Well, thanks for coming out here, Sting. See you later." And then Sting's like, "Thanks for having me, Tony," and just didn't say anything, and then went backstage again. And it's back to how it was. Have they learned nothing? Yeah, they kind of. I mean, over the course of it, there was one line. Pretty much the only thing he said when Sting goes, "A menacing location like the street." That was word for word what he said. Is the street like a location? Just the abstract notion of the street. A menacing location like the street. The quote of the night is I wrote down word for word. And obviously, yeah, they're going to start a thing up with Lance Archer now, which I'm not sure how I feel about. I think maybe they were pushing Lance Archer, now they don't know what to do with him. I'm going to come to you, Patrick, and I'm also going to include a question to this. Should they even be interviewing Sting this much, or is it ruin his mystique a little bit? Because if they did this to The Undertaker and then had the lights go out and then him come out with the Druids every week just for an interview that lasts 30 seconds, he's interrupted and then was like, "Well, see you guys," and fucks off. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't it have ruined the mystique of The Undertaker? Is Sting really a guy you should be interviewing every week? Not even interviewing, but fake interviewing, half interviewing, or interviewing at all? Or should he be the guy that kind of lurks in the rafters, and points his baseball bat at people and doesn't speak? That plus, what did you think of this segment overall?
Very good question. That's indeed like the Undertaker's mystique would be completely ruined if he would just give so many interviews over and over again. This is also, Sting was WCW's Undertaker back in the days. You cannot see it different. He created the mystique with just showing up, saying nothing, and so I don't know, or I don't remember everything from Impact anymore, like all the years when Sting was there and every single promo, but he was speaking a lot there and doing a lot of promos. Like after some time, he was quite talkative, but. This thing is just like, it's just, like you said, they are not even like, talk to you next week again. Okay, see ya, buddy. Like, yeah, I don't care. You can, if you want to talk, you can do it backstage. You don't need to take this 30 seconds off the camera. It ruins a bit the momentum of Sting, would say. Yeah, I would say that definitely. And also here's the problem I had with this thing. Completely opposed to what Cody and Penta had. They had a reason to fight. They have had touching points before. These guys didn't have any touching point before, so it's just like, I don't know. That's the random stuff I really don't like. Although I like Lance Archer a lot, I would have loved to see him win in the ladder match, but this was just, pointless, I would say, but I think timeless is better.
Speaking of pointless, next up we had Ethan Page versus Lee Johnson. I say speaking of pointless because the way this started out was with, I've just written QT Marshall wasting airtime. They started with the start of the match with QT Marshall backstage before he brought out Lee Johnson. A segment that lasted about a minute where he said a whole lot of nothing. Literally one of those short promos where like nothing goes in your head because it's all buzzwords. I think in retrospect, the purpose of this was just to make the Dynamite viewership aware that QT Marshall is Lee Johnson's manager, because they haven't featured him enough for us to know that or care about it, which is a problem given the direction they've taken with it. It's a problem that we have to be introduced to a dynamic and then expected to care about it 10 minutes later when it takes a different turn. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't all watch Dark. They need to accept not everyone watches Dark, just as they need to accept not everyone watches BTE. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked and ahead of myself. Lee Johnson started out strong. In fact, he kind of dominated this match, which is, again, I think of it of a problem when they're bringing in a guy like Ethan Page and a guy like Lee Johnson, who they're trying to convince us is not a jobber, but he's only had one victory before now and one Dynamite appearance before now, and again it's the whole Cody Nightmare Factory thing. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, he looks decent enough, but yeah, there was a couple of nice spots in it. Page did a slam, just a bog standard slam on Lee Johnson from the top, it followed up with a cutter, I believe, a nice looking cutter. The commentary team seemed to be absolutely burying Ethan Page, just not bigging him up, doing the opposite, in fact, of bigging him up, and bigging up. It was just so weird with this star like Ethan Page comes in, and they're seeming to kind of pile on the plaudits for Lee Johnson and kind of neglect Ethan Page a bit. it was not a good start for Ethan Page, I don't think. Even though he came up with the win, he did not look good in this match to me. Anyway, you can see he exudes heel. He's got a lot of that going for him. But yeah, I think pretty much it's all about what happened after this match, which, God forbid, I think it's going a certain direction that I really don't want it to, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And so actually what I'll do is I'll come to Patrick first, because I know Jack will have some stuff to say about what happened after the match. Patrick, thoughts on the match itself?
Not much to add. I think it was a little boring match also for me. Yeah, it was boring. The only thing which was not boring was maybe for the American viewers on TNT that the wrong audio channel was played in, and they heard the sound from an NBA game. Like in the middle of the match, they heard defense somewhere. So
fuck my life. They need to fire their production guy. I'm telling you.
I don't know, but I don't know if that was from TNT a problem also, because on the fight stream it wasn't on the fight stream. It might be a thing, but that adds up to the point with the production team where you're like, come on guys, you need to learn something. There was also, I think, I don't know if it was in this episode or on Revolution. There was also in the women's match. I don't know if it was now this women's match in this episode or on Revolution. Something happened, an important thing with Rio. No, then it was on Revolution. She speared someone outside or something happened there, and then you're like, it wasn't shown on screen. And then I was like, wow, why did that happen now?
They missed that Red Velvet one as well.
Yeah, right. Jesus Christ. So for me, it was just a match. Really, I really don't care about this QT Marshall thing, because I don't care about QT.
Well, let's talk about the QT Marshall thing and come to QT Marshall's biggest fan on that matter. After the match, QT Marshall seemed to betray Lee Johnson in a way. I think Ethan Page started. Like I said, Ethan Page exudes heel. I think he's I think he's quite WWE style in both his wrestling and his character work. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. We say that like it's an insult. It can be made to. So was Cody. Do you know what I mean? So is Cody. But they've made it work, and they've made some of his matches work. They've done WWE style matches, but better. One highlight I would say would be Cody's match with Dustin was very WWE style, but better. Do you know what I mean? What they could do if they actually leaned into better storytelling, and but regardless, QT apparently, like I said, they just reminded us or informed us for the first time that he was Lee Johnson's manager. And then when Ethan Page was beaten on Lee Johnson after the match, QT doesn't care. Dustin comes out to make the save, but QT doesn't even look back. He walks away. Jack, is this leading towards QT becoming Ethan Page's manager? And if so, should we all burn our TV sets now?
I didn't even think of it like that, to be fair. No, I'll just touch on quickly, because before we go on to QT stuff, Ethan Page, I'm worried they won't use him. I'm worried he'll become.
Like I said, this match was a burial of him at the expense of one of Cody's students, and I mean, just look at that. I don't like to agree with Con, because who does? Our friend Con. I don't like to agree.
He doesn't listen. Go for it.
He doesn't listen to the podcast. Fuck him. He hates Cody, and I think a lot of it is unfounded. He hated Cody's TNT title run, which I liked, because I think he was establishing the title and making the title mean something, and he was showcasing a lot of talent there. He made Scorpio Sky look $1 million. Look where Scorpio Sky is now, etc., etc. What I will say is, the nepotism on display here is ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? The people who came up from the Nightmare family now making Ethan Page look like a fucking joke when they won one match prior to this on Dynamite. And when he did win that match, they made out like he'd won a fucking Oscar. Do you know what I mean? And Cody himself just coming out and burying a dude. Like when people from the Nightmare family, who by all that is good and right should be an absolute jobber. This should have been a jobbing match. This was not a jobbing match. If anything, Lee Johnson controlled this match. To a big name coming in, wanting to be like a big debut like Ethan Page, this should have been a squash match, or at least an AEW style squash match of 2-3 minutes long, where everyone gets to showcase what they can do. Blah blah blah. It wasn't that. And yet Cody was the one that did have the squash match. Do you know what I mean? Just prior to this, where he absolutely destroyed a guy, and probably one of the squashiest squatches I've ever seen on AEW. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, where's this fucking Nightmare family preferential treatment coming from? And I have to agree with Con on this one, that it's absolute bullshit. I mean, I haven't heard him speak about it, but I assume that's his position on it. It's I'm not a fan.
No, so that's obviously God, you went off there, didn't you? Just off one sentence.
Hot takes. I've got it all built up. I've got to blow. I've been.
How are you supposed to grow if you won't let me blow?
If you won't let me blow, I've been blue-balled from Revolution. I've got all this love to give you.
You know what? It's fine.
Get a bit sexual with it now. Carry on.
But to be fair, that's all I just wanted to say on Ethan Page. I think they will not use him right. He'll go down as like a Matt Sydal of the company, and just linger.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, but that's what I'm worried about. But now we'll talk about my specialist subject of choice, my mastermind topic. QT Marshall. Marshall.
He shall henceforth be known as.
You know what? There's only been one good thing that QT Marshall, in my opinion, has ever done, and he's recently had a feud on Sammy Guevara's vlog with Fuego del Sol. I don't know how familiar you are with him, Tom.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara's mate. Anyway, they had a big match this week on Dark, and I thought this is a great chance to excel Fuego del Sol. He's not won a single match since being in AEW, admittedly just on Dark, but still having this feud with QT Marshall. It'd be great if he got his first win over QT. No, QT wins. And that just epitomizes to me QT. He is a soul-destroying man.
He's in the way.
He is in the way. He is stopping actual people from getting the shots they deserve, and it pisses me off. I don't know why he deserves a Dynamite storyline.
I'm calling it now. He's Ethan Page's manager. I'm calling it now. And I will just ask this: why does every motherfucker and their aunt need a manager in AEW? I'm fucking sick of it.
It's true. Thing is, look how fucking successful Mox was without anyone on his side.
He's like the only dude without a manager.
Yeah, and
he's like the only person without a manager.
You could have more like that. It is frustrating, to be fair. I didn't see the QT and Ethan Page collaboration personally, but I definitely could see where you come from. I could see it happening. I didn't see it at the time, but I can see it now.
Give you 4-1 odds.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, now you said it, it just makes a bit of a sense. But I think if you make QT Marshall Ethan Page's manager, that is just even more admittance that you're sort of burying Ethan Page already, and it's sad. It is sad. But I don't think there's much more to say.
What else were they going to do with QT Marshall? Because obviously they're giving him some.
I think they're going to have a match with him versus
away
Justin.
From Lee Johnson.
I think it's more him versus Justin sort of thing, because of what happened at Revolution. No, I think let's move on because it just infuriates us.
I've clearly forgotten. No, tell me what happened at Revolution. I've forgotten.
At Revolution, he obviously put over. Was it Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn? I think he eliminated either one of them or both of them. And basically, because they're part of the natural...
You got to be careful saying put over about putting them over the ropes there, because, as you know, saying put over in wrestling means... Sorry.
He eliminated them from the tag team battle royal.
There you go.
And then Dustin basically looked at him like, dude, they're part of our, our family, the Nightmare family.
Yes, I remember it now.
And then, obviously, then QT was just like... QT obviously just wanted to win, so he walked off, and then, in a bit of a hissy fit. So I think it's more just leading to a QT.
I must have forgotten that just because of how little I cared about it.
Exactly. I think that's where it's leading. But again, like I said a minute or two ago, let's just leave it because it just makes me mad thinking about it. Almost as mad as Nyla Rose.
Then let's. And that leads right into our next segment, which was Hangman and the Dark Order. Well, Hangman initially being interviewed by Alex Marvez, and he lists the things he's bought with Matt Hardy's money so far, which includes 6 bottles of whiskey, a new saddle, Dwight Yackham on vinyl, whoever Dwight Yackham is. I assume some sort of country music
sounds
singer.
Very white.
Yeah, sounds incredibly white. Jack, he gave some, the good guy that he is, good guy Adam Page, gave some to the Jacksonville Public Education Fund, and then a new lawnmower. I don't know. Then after this, right? Then the Dark Order appear out of nowhere, and they will hop on the lawnmower with Page, and Alan Angels is there, and they don't let him on. They say, no, there's a weight limit, you can't get on. And then he's like, all right, bye guys. But as they drive off, there's a bit of karmic retribution. Patrick's nodding it. He's noticed.
They almost tipped over.
Yeah.
It tipped, but it carried on going. But specifically, Colt Cabana fell off, and out of camera, you see him fall off, and you hear them in the background where Alan Angels is still trying to play it straight, but you hear in the background they're absolutely corpsing, like proper scream laughing about what just happened. I thought it was brilliant that they were like, "Yep, let's keep that take. Let's not redo it." Like, so I think they would have redone it if it wasn't for the fact that they found it funny, and even though it wasn't blatantly obvious, it was kind of a little nod to people who were paying attention that, oh yeah, we noticed there was it kind of tipped, which was obviously completely unplanned. Jack, I mean, what is there to say about this? It was a nice, fun little segment, wasn't it? And probably a nice moment for you, after a little palate cleanser after QT Marshall.
It was. I was a big fan. It was a very nice segment. It just made me happy. Just made me smile like that.
Made me happy. It's nice. It's nice to see the good guys get a win.
It is.
Unless you're Alan Angels.
I have one negative to it. If you watched BT this week before watching Dynamite, so obviously on Monday evening when it was uploaded, or Monday lunchtime for our American listeners, you would have heard basically, trying to remember it now, basically Dark Order saying that they spent his winnings before he'd even got them because they were confident in his win, and they put it all on his debit card, didn't they? His debit card, credit card. Patrick's nodding. Long story short, anyway, it was his credit card. Patrick, try and help me out here, because basically, long story short, Hangman's actually in debt now on BT instead of being the baller.
They bought something, and I don't recall that completely. Sorry, my mouth is still full.
It's all right.
That's what she said.
Hugh, get out of there! Hugh, stop! He's trying to record a podcast.
But I don't know 100% if they did a credit card, debit card, or if they said, yeah, we wrote it on the tab or anything.
Yeah. Basically, they bought themselves stuff as a win, and something then happened in the middle. You'll have to go and watch. There's more reason to promote BTE. And long story short, Hangman's now in debt. Now, that's on BTE, and obviously then they come into Dynamite and say he spent all his winnings and, loving life. So, I mean, I don't know whether I'm a fan of this, storyline not mixing, but then again, we also moan when they do mix BTE into Dynamite for those.
Can't please us wrestling fans, can you?
Exactly. So I think that's just me being picky, but no, as a segment, that didn't do too much. It was just nice. It was nice.
So next up, we had what was meant to be Christian Cage coming out and saying a few words about his debut, but before he could even do that, Kenny's Cleaner Girls come out, and Tony Schiavone acts like he's never seen them before. He was like, is this part of Christian's entrance? Like, yes. And Kenny and his boys come out. Great heel heat. The crowd were loudly disapproving of Kenny in exactly the way you want them to be. Not go away heat as a Baron Corbin might get. Or let's choose someone from AEW. I feel like we shouldn't dunk on WWE. It's not a WWE podcast. Who's got go away heat or has had go away heat in AEW? Luther, yes, Luther. I think Luther more so. I think QT hate is more of a this podcast kind of thing. Although the rest of the world will see it soon. You bank on it. Luther. It's not like the go away heat that Luther gets. This was legit heel heat. Same as kind of thing as MJF's good at getting. And that was brilliant because of how over Kenny was as a face. It's amazing to hear him getting legit heel heat, and that he's thoroughly earned. So they spun the finish of Revolution as kind of a heel move on their part, and again it was kind of conflating it. Did we mean to do it? Didn't we? Because Don Callis was basically saying we didn't mean for it to blow up, but Kenny was like, oh, I don't know about that, Don. So again, they're kind of leaning into the debate amongst fans and making it like a real thing. Do you know what I mean? This was. This was full of quotes, this whole segment, full of quotable moments, the first of which came towards the beginning where he accused, I can't remember whether it's Callis, I've got it written down, but I can't remember if it's Callis or Kenny, one of you have to tell me. He accused Eddie of dry humping you in the middle dry humping him in the middle of the ring as 4 sparklers shot from the corners.
Yeah, right.
That's how we put the ending.
Hilarious, really.
Doing exactly what they should do with it, and absolutely taking the piss out of it, and not taking themselves too seriously, as I feared would happen when Tony Khan seemed to be taking himself far too seriously in the post-show scrum. Eddie comes out, obviously. Callis says that he fired Eddie from Impact because he never steps up when he gets a chance. He's just not the kind of stepping up to take a chance guy. And then they set off a countdown to when they're apparently going to like beat on Eddie or whatever, and taking a piss out of him. And that's when we get our most quotable moment of the night, which is when Kenny starts writhing around in the middle of the ring pretending to be Mox. And I quote, says, 69 me, Don, help me. And Don,
So good,
and to
really.
his credit, Don does sit on Kenny's face.
Right, he did 69.
And then, 69 me, Don, save me. And then they stood up, and Kenny says, "Oh, sorry, I was getting reminders of when I was put in detention in grade school, like taking the piss out of Eddie." It was just some of his finest heel work he's ever done. Obviously trying to get Eddie to hit him. He's like, "Hit me, hit me, hit me." Eddie obviously does hit him. I don't know what he expected. And then Moxley comes out to support Eddie and even the odds up a little bit. The odds are truly even when, predictably, because they obviously cut his segment off, so we always knew he was going to come out, Christian Cage comes out. Bad call on JR's part, I think this was, because the music hits, and Christian's music hits, and I think it was Tony Schiavone had made his way back to announcing at this point and says, well, we know the music because we saw it at Revolution, because JR didn't know. He was like, what's this? What's going on? Who's this? And it was Christian Cage's music. And JR said, I didn't recognise the music, it's so new. Now, any of the hardcore fans amongst us know this isn't new music at all. This music was written circa about 2005. This music's about 15, 16 years old. This was Christian Cage's TNA music that he's now using in Revolution. So, I mean, I don't know how Jim Ross... I mean, I understand if Jim Ross wasn't watching TNA in 2005. He had other business on. But I have to at least imagine someone had told him that in the time since Revolution, but he made himself look a bit foolish and out of the know.
Typical JR.
Typical JR, isn't it? But it's when he takes the product down on them a little bit that hurts. Kenny tries to shake Christian's hand, but obviously kind of, is a fake, and he goes to clothesline him or whatever. And Christian kind of dodges it and tries to go through the Unprettier or the Impaler or whatever name AEW are going to give it. They didn't call an audible, so we don't know yet. Christian picks up the AEW title that's laying in the ring and gets a "You deserve it" chant from the crowd immediately. Because, I mean, let's be real, he does deserve world titles. I don't know if you guys saw this on... I mean, I saw it through Reddit. I assume it was something he put on Twitter. But Christian was like, yeah, I've been out of the game for 7 years, but that's 7 years I haven't been taking a batter and I haven't been taking a beating. My body is as good as it's ever been. Do you know what I mean? So... he's making a big call that he can still go like he's 10 years younger than what he is. Do you know what I mean? It's he's saying he hasn't been battered, he hasn't been bruised, his body's in great shape. And to his credit, he is a small guy, and by the laws of wrestling, small guys versus big guys whose body breaks down. I mean, you look at The Undertaker, or you look at there's got to be some other examples, but The Undertaker is obviously the big example of a body that's just breaking down, who he's now he's wrestling once a year and he still looks like death, warmed up. And then you look at smaller guys, and I'm talking your Jushin Thunder Ligers or your Minoru Suzuki's, and there's less, and your Rey Mysterio, there's less to break down. Do you know what I mean? They age a lot better. They can go a lot longer. Christian's kind of a smaller dude, so I'm hoping he is a man of his word, especially given what he said about not taking any serious bumps for the last 7 years. I mean, look at Matt Hardy, who has been bumping on his ass his whole career, and now he can't even walk very well. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm expecting to see good things from Christian. What were your thoughts on this segment? Let's come to Patrick.
Thank you. It was awesome. Like, really
Awesome,
one
wasn't
of the best segments, I would say, ever done in AEW, maybe. They
that's
played
fair.
so wonderful with what was said before from Eddie Kingston, and John Moxley implemented that. the heel heat, the hilarious heel heat, like he's making fun of people instead of threatening or so. He's just pointing it over and over, doing it. That was just so awesome. Also, this 69 me Dawn with the countdown in the middle of the ring. Oh my god!
69 me,
god!
Save me!
I was so hilarious. Really, I couldn't stop laughing. It was so great, and it was also on point. Like if he would do that in front of me and mock me with that, that's clearly you want to slap somebody in the face. Then that's so clear. I don't know also what
put
you
yourself in Eddie
Kingston's
shoes, and he's actually like, I mean, this is, as you would say in a TV show or a movie, this is canon now. And this is the facts stay the facts. Eddie Kingston had a PTSD moment. He blacked out. That's, whatever you want to say, that is what happened. Even if it's retconned, that's what happened now, and that's the kayfabe story. And so imagine how much you'd want to beat the shit out of people taking the piss out of your PTSD or whatever. Like that's
right.
It's both fucked up and hilarious at the same time, which was great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. So this got really, really good heel heat. Also, I don't know if he always had 4 dancers with him. Like in between, he had 2. If he ever had 4, I was just thinking if he's stepping up the game now that he's taking more and more.
But for the most part, it was Okay. I think he has at least once before, but for the most part, it was 2 every week. But he might be making 4.
Okay, good. I was just thinking maybe he's stepping it up now and bringing out. Anyway, really looking forward to the match. Then for next week, they made with this that Jon Moxley came out, and that was really, really good. And also, Christian coming out then. Awesome. Like talking about it before. Yeah. I've seen him in WWE, TNA. I recognize the theme from TNA. I know what he's capable of
Smart
in TNA.
Tonight.
Yeah, we grew up with that. Like, back then I wasn't such a Christian fan. I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens there. And then he was in TNA and these NWA title matches and everything. Great stuff. And we just looked it up, or you and me looked it up because we didn't really know what happened, why he retired, because the Edge thing was quite big. He was like, he had this big speech and he had retired, and then Christian also retired. It wasn't such a big thing. He didn't make such a big deal out of it.
Because Vince has never rated Christian, ever.
Yeah, he just let also his contract expire. So he had a concussion in the match against Big E in 2014, and then he just let run out the contract.
Against who?
He was Big E.
Big E. Right.
Yeah, Intercontinental title match was it, and he just let run his wrestling contract run out, and he then had of course the Edge and Christian podcast or show whatever on the network. But then like Edge returned last year, this year Christian on the Royal Rumble, and then, like I said yesterday already on the other podcast, then why they didn't hire him like full time or so, like Edge and Christian together?
They did offer him they did offer him a contract, but from the sounds of it, it was because he came back at the Royal Rumble, so everyone. We did in our WhatsApp group, we have a bracket where we choose the profile picture and we change up the theme of it. Like one time it's AEW men, it will be AEW non WWE women. This time it was WWE main roster men, and Christian was on there because everyone was just expecting him after the Royal Rumble to be joining them full time, and he was offered a contract. And because after that he said, "I've got matches in me and stuff." Do you know what I mean? Which was, as far as we were concerned, kind of confirmation he was signing for WWE. But from what I understand of it, he was offered a contract, but it was just like piss poor. It was what Vince thinks of him in contract form. Do you know what I mean? One of these kind of like Legends contracts with a couple of matches, maybe a tag match with Edge at some point, but not a full-time a creative has nothing for you kind of contract. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, right. That's the thing I meant with it. Why don't they offer him something really good when he wants to come back? He clearly is in a good state. I mean, look, Daniel Bryan came back after like a career-threatening a result from the doctors and everything. Same with Edge, and they completely put down everything for years and years, and now they can come back and they're like, I've fully rested, and like my body is doing good. I still have some years in me. Same also with Sting. Sting also
rested now. And now, like, the match was awesome with Sting. Also, he can move in the ring. He doesn't look like The Undertaker or like Hulk Hogan with his fifth hip or so, which was replaced. They look like normal people in the ring still for such a quite high age, which Christian doesn't have yet. I think he's 45, 47, something around there.
Dude, in modern day wrestling, he could get like another good 5 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And even though if he's not in the ring all the time, there are these cinematic matches which came up now with the pandemic and also with having older guys in there. But also, he's so important for backstage, and I'm really looking forward. I wouldn't have not expected that he comes out and directly challenges Kenny Omega, but I was like, okay, I want to see that next. Like, I really want to see that. So I'm a little hyped now already.
Couple of points. One is, I'll start with the fact that Christian Cage, when I remember hearing him talk about his time at TNA afterwards and why he went to TNA, and his rationale was, it kind of buried the product of TNA a little bit, which, to be fair, they were the B show back then, do you know what I mean? Whereas AEW are now trying to be on par with WWE, or at least on par with some of WWE's brands. Back then, he was asked after he'd been to TNA, what was the motive behind the move to TNA? He was like, it was based in one place in Florida. I could just chill, with my family, and they only made me work like 4 days a month. Do you know what I mean? Because they film so much in once. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of sucked for TNA to hear him say, I went there for a kind of easy work schedule and just to chill in Florida and not tour. Do you know what I mean? But it's funny him saying that, and now at this age he wants to just to play Vince's advocate for a sec. He said that back then about going to TNA, about wanting a light work schedule and just goof off and get paid for it. Do you know what I mean? And now when he's in his 40s, he wants the kind of the wrestling. It doesn't really matter why he wanted to go to TNA or why he wants to go to AEW, to be fair, because he has been constantly wrestling. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting parallel. The other thing is, I never really gave my opinion because I wasn't on the Revolution show. Don't you think they maybe, and you probably talked about this, they probably overhyped him a little bit, didn't they? If they never said anything, anything at all, this would have been one of their biggest, if not their biggest, signings, and right up there with Mox if they'd not said anything at all.
Yeah, but of course, Sting is still a little bigger in the dimensions. But what we talked about yesterday is like, if they wouldn't have said anything, or like, of course they definitely wanted to draw pay-per-view buys for this, but if they wouldn't have said something and bring out this big announcement again,
if you just surprise the crowd, they go fucking ballistic.
They did that with Sting already in Full Gear, and now again, and then everyone's like, okay, third pay-per-view, I have to get it because there will be something happening. We know that, and now they overhyped that because Christian is not that super mega
but he's
star
big.
like
He's
Sting
a huge
is.
signing. He's just not.
He is a huge signing, but not as big as they said.
There are two men that could have lived up to that billing. I maintain there are two men that could have lived up to that level of hype they built, and that is The Rock and CM Punk. That's how much they hyped it.
Even not Kurt Angle, I think. Even not Kurt Angle, although
even
Kurt Angle
no, because Kurt, they hyped that it was him so much that it obviously wasn't him. Do you know what I mean? With him doing the promo of lacing up the boots and the video he put on Twitter of him lacing up the boots, and Tony Khan saying it's true about fucking 10 times in his podcast appearance. But yeah, both of those things. That was really funny, that video got put up, actually. It turned out to be a thing for his podcast. That brings us on to another match. We had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Maki Ito, and Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida, Rhea Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa. I have never laughed so hard.
Me too. Really.
At a moment in Dynamite.
So
possibly, I can't remember. It's definitely the hardest I've ever laughed watching Dynamite. I can't remember ever laughing this hard watching wrestling in my entire life. And the commentary team couldn't even hold themselves together, as when Maki Ito's music stopped because everyone started throwing down and broke out in a massive brawl. So as they do in wrestling, her music stopped. And she didn't give a fuck and just carried on singing until she'd finished. She was like, no, I'm gonna finish. And so there's just all this shit going down. Like, there's a crutch being thrown, and then like Nyla Rose is crashing out of the ring and into and like just there's people crashing everywhere. everywhere, and she's just this big smile on her face, like dancing. Oh, and it was I almost had tears. I was like laughing out loud, like full on belly laughing. And you hear that, like I said, the commentary team couldn't even compose themselves for like 2 minutes after this. It was hands down like, this is why she's here. Do you know what I mean? She's just such a character. Yeah, I mean, that was brilliant, right?
Completely hilarious. Really, I was so happy to see her again. When I saw her also on BTE on Monday when she came, surprise motherfuckers! I was so happy. Also, it was awesome. And then I watched actually the buy-in yesterday before we recorded the show. I didn't have the time before. I didn't find the time, and also in the buy-in, it was so good to have her in there. She's like such a character, connecting with the crowd and just doing really good crowd work in the end, you know, like wrestling wise, she can still improve because she's not that super long in the game, but her talent like is awesome. Like there's so much potential with her. I really hope she stays with AEW or gets a full-time deal, that she comes over and then stays there. And as Jack and I said yesterday, maybe they form like a Japanese faction or so one day or whatever. That would be something nice.
Well, I was expecting her to stay for a while because as it stands now, you don't really just fly someone in from Japan for a one-night thing. Do you know what I mean? With the current COVID stuff, you might as well, they're going to be there for a while, you might as well get a few matches out of them. So I was expecting to be I'm so happy they put it on the main roster. I'm not up to date. I have been watching her on Joshi Pro. I've got a DDT Universe subscription, Wrestling Universe subscription, which that's part of. She's, I thought, currently, no, I'm behind because she was teaming with Miyu Iwatani, who is probably my favourite female wrestler in the world. I hope she at some point makes an appearance in AEW. And yeah, they were having a really good run in a tag tournament, but I haven't seen the end of that yet, so I'll have to watch it and let you guys know how it went. She started the match. I think she was one of the first two in, and she flipped off Hikaru Shida, and then Hikaru Shida grabbed her by her middle fingers and like kind of crushed them. She's doing the whole hard head thing, and then Mizunami came in for a bit, and then she tagged Rosa in, and then Nyla was in, and they had a big thing about Rosa and Nyla. There was a little bit of an awkward moment when because Excalibur calls all like Japanese moves a lot. He'll say a lot of, he'll call a lot of audibles of Japanese moves. And JR said, this was a quote from JR, "I bet you have no trouble ordering in an Asian diner, do you?" And, like as if there are such things like there's just one Asian language and Asian diners and there was such the awkward silence and a little awkward laugh from Excalibur, like, like afterwards. It was, oh, JR, on form again. Yeah, I mean, there was some really nice stuff. They did the whole, they acted like they were going to do the whole run in a train thing, but then I think it was on Nyla, and then Rosa and Shida both did the kind of train splash, but then Shida suplexed Rhea Mizunami into Nyla Rose in the corner, which was brilliant, I thought. Just good stuff. Ended with Thunder Rosa pinning Maki Ito. Obviously, what a disappointment. But and Britt attacked Rosa after the match with the crutch, put the lockjaw on her. We're obviously working towards a big blow-off match, which we'll talk about when we're talking about next week's card. Jack, thoughts on this match?
Yeah, just a lot of fun, mate.
Fantastic, wasn't it?
I liked it as well, how obviously they all had their entrances, and then as soon as Maki was doing her and she started singing, Shida, Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa just didn't wait, did they? They just ran straight out. They were just like fuck this, let's get this going. I thought that
it was just the fact her facial expression. She just kept the smile up.
And then she booped Hikaru Shida in the head with the mic as well, didn't she? She also when I think it was Thunder Rosa was in the corner, she also gave her like
the most adorable cheap shot ever. Just like twatted her like just once, like a kind of thing.
She's great. Honestly, she's a star, and Tony Khan just needs to get that contract. Give that girl whatever she wants, and get her an AEW.
Push her to the moon. I wouldn't have seen her in. Seeing a Japan side though, if that goes, maybe we could work out a deal. But I mean, it's annoying because wrestling was supposed to be so much more international at this point, but coronavirus has kind of rolled that back. Do you know what I mean? There would have been a chance for her to appear everywhere and everyone to appear everywhere, but it's just not happening at the moment. But
for sure, and it's nice how they all link as well. Like when all the wrestlers in the match, obviously you got Thunder and Brits, like hitting each other off. Shida and Mizunami now teaming on the same team. Maki Ito obviously against Rhea Mizunami because they met in the tournament, and Nyla Rose as well. There also met Britt Baker.
Meet in the tournament, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. So they're all like interlinked some way, which is quite nice. But now just a really fun match. A lot of the girls there I like. Obviously Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Maki Ito, Shida, Mizunami.
Oh, all of those.
Except one. I wonder who I left out. But nah, honestly,
that's a really mean thing to say about Reba/Rebel.
Oh, sorry, I'm Vicky Guerrero. No, I'm joking.
I unironically think Vicky Guerrero was, maybe not right now with how they're using her right now, but I unironically think Vicky Guerrero is one of the best heels of the last 20 years. If you'd seen some of her stuff in WWE, the excuse me thing, like the heat she could generate
and
was
now
unparalleled.
she has the best entrance theme in like 20 years or so. This dubstep version of excuse me. This is so good. This is so annoying, really.
To be fair, when I was watching it and I saw her come out in the Vicious Vixens top, the one thing I did think was, God, wouldn't Tom look good in that? So keep an eye out for your birthday.
Maybe we can make a pot in the wrestling group.
Maybe. Actually,
I'm not the one that's scared to have my video uploaded as a video podcast. Like I'm happy to. If you guys are happy to be out with your faces on YouTube, I will wear the Vicious Vixens costume.
Check that quickly.
I'll tell you what.
Look it up. Look up the Vicious. That's the agreement.
Let's do it in a wrestling group chat. We all put in like a couple quid. We can get Tom the Vicious Vixens t-shirt. I love it. But now to summarise, loved the match, loved the wrestlers in it. Lot of fun, and was a nice match for after Revolution whilst you got them Japanese girls over here.
Great match, I thought. After this, we had Matt Hardy and Private Party. Backstage, Matt Hardy says that they need to be bringing more money in, I suppose, as a result of Hangman Page taking his money. And then he introduces Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny, and I can't remember which member of Private Party it was that made me laugh because he went, "You dead ass!" like about them coming in. So Patrick's just showing me that he has got a Vicious Vixens top up on the screen that I could apparently wear. Yeah,
who's
Patrick.
seriously buying that? Sorry,
let's do it. Let's put it in the group chat. You mean in general? Like
maybe when we go all together to AEW one day, we can all wear these shirts just for fun.
Vicious Vix. I think they'd even be confused. I think Tony can't be backstage in gorilla position. The camera would pan across and be like, "What the fuck is wrong with those guys?"
They're all drunk.
You should really. Shall we start then something on Reddit that everyone buys that shirt in the crowd, or as much people as possible?
Like the Cesaro section, the Vicious Vixen section. Right. Let's just. This will be the thing of this podcast now. We're going to ironically put all our weight behind the Vicious Vixens. We stan Vicious Vixens. We stan a queens, plural.
Yeah, Vicious Vixen Ultras. I'm gonna make a banner.
Vicious Vixen Ultras. Yeah. Yes, Patrick. Thoughts on, and I am dead ass about this, about the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny joining the Big Money crew, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, going from a really hilarious, funny topic to a completely shitty thing. I have honestly to say about it.
Not a fan?
Butcher and the Blade, no, not at all. The Butcher and the Blade, they've been moved around now 3 times, no, second time. So they are in the third stable group, whatever they're in. They are these mercenaries now. I liked that before, that they were on the mercenaries for MJF to introduce them. Then they bonded a little bit with Eddie Kingston, so were in the group. And after also, like, we all agreed that they both. Like for me, it was the Butcher. For Jag, it was the Blade. Most improved of the year. Now it would have been the time to let them free. Have them maybe some promos or so. Although the Blade doesn't have the best voice for his size or for his character, but they should bring them out maybe more as a team, a singles team, and not always be the mercenaries behind somebody, because I think they have way more potential and they're just wasting it, just pushing them around everywhere.
Yeah, they've been passed around like a drunk teenager on Kiss's tour bus, haven't they?
Oh,
nice. Well, not nice at all.
No. They don't gel, but it's weird. They seem to be aware of that and doing it anyway. So odd behaviour. But hey, I'm willing to give it not the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to see how it pans out. Anyway. Next up, we had Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky for the strap. I'll tell you what, instead of doing my whole spiel, I'm just going to come straight in with one of you's opinions. Jack, thoughts on Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky for the TNT title?
I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, and I don't know whether that's
really?
I don't know.
I liked it.
I think I said this to
Actually, no, I do have complaints. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. I'm just go.
I said to Patrick, I think us as fans and me as personally, I found it quite hard to kind of connect with Scorpio Sky a lot recently, since obviously it was easy to gel with him when he was the tag team champs and he had that whole run to be the inaugural champs, but ever since he's kind of just been there but not really doing much. And I know what they're obviously doing now, and we'll reveal what happened at the end of the match in a bit, but just hopefully going to give him a bit more relevancy. But in terms of this match, obviously deserved, won the match of Revolution to get this shot. I wish it had a bit more to it, like obviously this tag match that the Bucks and Death Triangle are going to have. It's going to, they've not done it on the Dynamite straight away. Why did they do this one on Dynamite straight away? I think it's more to hit home the fact that Darby's done this match straight away after having a street fight to show how hardcore Darby is. But now in terms of the match, it was all right. I wouldn't go far to say it was my favourite match of the night.
It was mine.
It was yours, was it? See, I'll give my match of the night now. I'll probably give it the women's match because I really just enjoyed it.
It's
it was
my
a lot
second
of fun.
favourite, but
yeah, but this one, I don't know. I think sometimes I don't know what some of the reasons may be, but a match that I on paper am hyped for just doesn't deliver, and I don't know if it's what happens, but sometimes that, and yeah, but I think maybe on a different day, on different Dynamite, maybe a bit more hype. This could have done a bit more for me, but on paper, don't get me wrong, it was a good match. It was up there. It was better than some of the matches on the card, but I think it could have done a bit more, and I think it was more just kind of a way to elevate one of them's story and a way to make the other one look hardcore, and just maybe a bit of a wasted opportunity which the Face of the Revolution ladder match could have offered to another potential winner.
Well, I actually called Scorpio Sky as the winner of the Face of Revolution ladder match. I can't remember putting it in Liam's thing, though, that he did. I'm not sure he even put it as a question or whether he forgot. But I called them and I called Death Triangle winning, just FYI. Let me give you my defense of this match. It did start out pretty slow with some kind of mat wrestling, and we weren't used to the mat wrestling. And it wasn't even proper full-on mat wrestling. It was like mat wrestling holds, like Darby Allin was doing the holds on his arm. And they called this out on commentary as well. Then when they went to there was a spot where Darby kind of went to flip off the back of Scorpio Sky, but then he landed badly on his ankle and started telling this bad ankle he's got from the match, which is obviously was good storytelling in terms of the match because it came back later. There was during the break there was a lot of kind of grounding and a lot of groundwork, which kind of felt almost to me like rest holds that they didn't really need to do because Darby Allin obviously hasn't really been through the wars because it was predetermined. And sorry to break the illusion for you, but it was pre-recorded. There was probably a lot of resting between takes and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It probably didn't happen in that match against Team Taz probably didn't happen in one fluid motion. But
Tom again, ruining wrestling for fans.
Always with Sting and Darby Allin Team Taz stuff as well. Sky caught him with a nasty looking right elbow. Darby hits him with the stunner, 2 count. He hits him with a code red for another 2. And then this is where it really started to pick up, and Sky went for the three amigos, the three German suplexes, and Darby kind of tried to wrench his way out of it by like tearing at his fingers when he went for the third. So instead, Scorp just kind of like knuckled down and hit the third one right into the turnbuckle, which looked really nasty. Probably two of the spots of the night, although one I preferred than the other, just because of the other was so blatantly obvious it was coming. But the first one came like a Randy Orton RKO, and it was, funnily enough, a cutter out of nowhere, which was when Darby Allin went for the Tope Suicida to Scorp on the outside, and Scorp caught him in the cutter. Spot of the night for me, that. And then there was like I want to say a fisherman's brainbuster. There was a brainbuster with an inside leg hook, which was nice. That's not the spot I'm talking about. Spot I'm talking about is when Sky countered the coffin drop. Darby went for the coffin drop, and Sky countered it into, I think, a powerbomb, which was really unique. But as always with these super unique counters, you saw it coming a mile off, because it's like, why is Darby Allin going for the coffin drop on someone who's not only standing but standing with his back to him? Do you know what I mean? So there was that, but it was nice. And then a really nice reversal from Scorp's TKO into a pin from Darby. Unexpected finish for me. I thought Scorpio Sky was taking it, just with how they've given him this new entrance music. He's won the Face of the Revolution ladder match. I'm glad Scorpio didn't win, even though I've gone on all this time about saying before about how I hate how they benched him, how he's saying, someone's got to warm the bench, and how they've not been featuring him, how they had this made star, from when he was facing off with Chris Jericho on Dynamite in front of the live crowd, and how he always seemed like the guy that was going to get pushed to the moon, and should be. He's got all the ability. I've been saying that all the time, and yet when push came to shove, I'm glad he didn't win, if only for the fact that Darby's title run would have been just the most dud title run we've seen if it ended here. Do you know what I mean? Just because it's just been held back by the Sting and Team Taz stuff so much that would have defined the title run, and just it would have been terrible. But yeah, I like this. Give it a solid 4. Patrick, we can talk about some stuff happened after the match. Patrick, thoughts of the match itself, and then we'll talk about what happened after the match.
I can keep it very short because I completely agree with Jack. I was kind of underwhelmed from the match, what I was expecting. It wasn't a bad match.
You guys are watching a different match than me.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It didn't click for me that much. It also the Face of the Revolution match was not the best setup. I think if they would have taken a little more time building this up, the emotional investment would be bigger. Than in the end, it's about the emotion. So it was a good match, but didn't click for me.
I thought it was great. Can't always agree, though, can we? After the match, Scorpio started attacking Darby Allin, put the heel hook on his bad ankle. First question, where was Sting? They've made out like he's his protege. He didn't get beat down earlier, did he? He just pissed off backstage. Like, where was Sting? Like, they're supposed to be so close. And now clearly that storyline is over. But just because that storyline's over, he's now no longer saving his ass from it. Just because it's not Team Taz attacking him, he's not going to save him. It makes no sense story-wise. They're just going to forget about each other now after all that. Just bizarre shit, man. Bad story writing, I will say that. The funniest thing to me was Scorpio Sky seemed surprised at his own heel turn. He was like looking at his hands and looking shocked, and then he started smiling. He's the only one who was surprised at it, because he was acting as a dick on commentary all throughout the last Dynamite. All the rest of us saw the heel turn coming. But yeah, he was surprised at his own heel turn. I've got this as down as part of the Inner Circle stuff, but I'll address it now because it's not actually to do with the Inner Circle War Council. Tony mentioned how at the beginning of the Inner Circle coming out for the next segment, Tony Schiavone mentioned how Scorpio Sky went down the heel tunnel. He didn't say the word heel, but he say, did you see the tunnel that Sky went down? The same tunnel that the Inner Circle's coming out. I have a bone to pick with this. You don't address that there's a face and heel tunnel as an announcer. Do you know what I mean? You don't address that, because here's the thing. Like, that's some meta observation that wrestling is fake. Do you know what I mean? That there's a heel tunnel, there's a face tunnel, there's a heel. Because here's the thing: the bad guys aren't going to see themselves as the bad guys for the most part. Some of them might, but the bad guys think they're in the right. They think they're doing the right thing. That's why they're the bad guys. Do you know what I mean? MGF sees himself as the hero. He doesn't see himself as the villain. So fair enough, have a face tunnel and have a heel tunnel, but don't address it like, yeah, this is where all the bad guys think they're on the same side, and all the bad guys recognize they're bad and heels, and they've all got affiliation to each other by virtue of being bad. So they all come out of the bad guy tunnel. Do you know what I mean? I agree. I did not like Tony Schiavone addressing that Scorp walked back down the heel tunnel. Leave it, put it in, and leave it for those eagle-eyed smarks to notice, but don't address it head on, because it just completely breaks kayfabe, in my opinion. Which, I mean, should we be pissed off about breaking kayfabe so blatantly in 2021? I mean, I think when it's as blatant as that, then yeah, do you know what I mean? Because it's basically a big flashing billboard saying wrestling is fake. He's gone down the heel tunnel. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you thought about that, Patrick.
Yeah, I actually didn't notice that as you said that now, because I wasn't that invested in the match, and when it was over, it's like, yeah, okay, fine. But it's good that you point that out, because with the segment that's following now, the entrance is very important, where people are coming in and out in that match. That's very important, and I also don't like when they address that. I accidentally also tripped over it. I was like, oh yeah, that's something, that's something nice you can explore yourself and notice after watching.
I don't mind it existing.
But
I don't mind the face and heel tunnel existing.
Great.
But don't.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you know what I mean?
Don't address it. Don't tell the people don't educate the audience on everything, because you still, although
so meta,
wrestling
do you know what I mean?
is very, very easy entertainment, but still give the people something to think about when they watch something. Don't just throw them all the bones there and they just have to lay it down and consume it like, I don't know, like robots or so.
Because
it's just like, keep everything a bit up.
Yeah, it's just made it seem so stupid from a perspective of why would Scorpio then walk down the opposite? Why would he? Oh, I've changed my affiliation. Do you know what I mean? It just, it's fine. It's fine to do the wink and the nod like that. It's not fine to call it out, in my opinion. And it's just a gregarious, is that the word? Example of what I bitch about every time it comes up, which is the meta. Do you know what I mean? The meta acknowledgement of wrestling being fake that AEW keeps doing, with like they did with the Miro stuff in the wedding set. Yeah, I didn't like that. I called that out, like I did with the stuff with we all watched the show and the cameras and the stuff like they've done with the Inner Circle, which they found a nice way around coming up. But do you know what I mean? I just don't like when I just don't like the meta acknowledgement of Dynamite as a wrestling an entertainment fake product. You know what I mean? And that's my biggest pet peeve with AEW. Anyway, Inner Circle War Council, I would say the main event if it was a match, but I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, I already mentioned about how they was still talking about Scorpio Sky when the Inner Circle came out and the tunnel situation. They two big fouls from the commentary team back to back. They seemed like they were taking the piss out of Judas. The entrance music. They were like, what? They were like, what have you become and stuff. They were like, and he was like, he's like, I heard it's the Judas in his mind and stuff like that. And they weren't in character. The announcers. They were just like. They were just having fun with like the entrance music. I don't know if I like that either, Jack. I don't know what you.
No, I agree. I think you got. I don't know. They're meant to be professionals. You know what I mean?
Professionals. They were just ripping the shit out of the product.
That's something me and you would do when we're watching it together.
Exactly.
Play which I get. Have fun with it, but like when you're on live and you're on screen. There's some stuff you can't do like that. You got to kind of just let the fans and the viewers like have their moment, because everyone loves that entrance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone loves that. That's what I mean. And they're here kind of belittling it a little bit by taking the piss out of it.
Exactly.
And like I said, it's okay to do, but I think sometimes these announcers, I think the atmosphere at AEW is so relaxed that sometimes they forget that announcers have characters too. Do you know what I mean? And the announcers. Often they're not in character and they're just three guys just bantering and watching wrestling and ripping the shit out of
but they enjoy their job too much sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, like sometimes they sometimes lose the sense of professionalism, I think. Wardlow wasn't present. I noticed that. We would see why later on. Big "you suck" chant for MJF. Then Sammy came out, and Tony Schiavone fucking again references Sammy coming out of the specific tunnel. So I don't know how you didn't notice it, Patrick, because he said it twice this night. He mentions about Sammy coming out of the face tunnel, and it's just it's ruining shit. Do you know what I mean? It's it mentions about
that's where I noticed that. Where I was like, why do you need to mention that? Yeah,
but he did it twice. He did it with Scorpio Sky and he did it with Sammy Guevara, and it's like this is a better
I get it. Also,
show.
that's really bad. Yeah.
And Sammy showed footage of an Inner Circle meeting where they discuss MJF taking leadership from Jericho. However, when they all go to double cross Jericho, they all being Santana, Ortiz, and Jake Hager closing in on Jericho to beat up Jericho, and I assume Sammy by extension. The five of them, including Sammy Guevara and Jericho, all turn around facing MJF like, "You stupid idiot! You know, do you not notice? No, I popped so hard. Do you know what I mean? At this point, obviously there was more to come. Then when they've turned on MJF, he's there. He starts crying. He starts begging, and he says, I never wanted to lead the Inner Circle. Please, Chris, you got to believe me, because I was busy building my own. Lights cut. FTR, Tully Blanchard, Sean Spears, Wardlow in the ring and just decimate the Inner Circle. Jake Hager gets a bottle smashed over his head. Fucking Santana Ortiz get handcuffed together and Spike pile driven. Fucking, it was brutal. I think Sammy takes a chair at some point, which is like the least brutal thing that happens to anyone. There's a great shot of... I don't know. Oh, there was one bad thing, which was, I think it was on Jericho. Wardlow did go like he was going to do a top rope choke slam or something, but then it turned into like a half choke slam or something. It like kind of choke slammed into his feet. It was weird, but the spike pile drive from on Santana Ortiz was brutal. MJF clocks Jericho with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and when AEW has problems with its cameras, when they get it right, they get it right. Like when I remember that famous shot of kind of Jon Moxley popping up behind Kenny Omega, I think on the first Dynamite or something like that. And here was another kind of one with Jericho reaching towards his bat covered in blood, and then the foot just comes out of nowhere and stamps on Jericho's hand, and it's MJF's foot who gets the bat and just beats on him. And they carry Jericho. Looks like they carry him off stage, but no, they carry him to the stage, powerbomb him off the stage, and end it like that, which is quite ironic because that's how Inner Circle have ended a show before. They powerbombed Jon Moxley off the stage once back when we had crowds through a table, exact same situation, and the show went out like that. So kind of a little bit of karma for them, whether that was intended or not by the AEW production team. I just want to address something. Jack mentioned to me in a bit that we've probably cut at this point that Liam, our friend Liam, he's been on the show before, mentioned it didn't make sense to him that MJF... Do you want to explain it, Jack? That MJF would...
So it's 2 points. He firstly thought, why did
MJF try and recruit Santana and Ortiz and Jake Hager if he'd already got the other plan? Well, here's my... I think a very straight... And this confused Liam and he didn't like it. I think the very simple explanation for this is that for MJF, if Santana Ortiz and Jake Hager went along with it and they beat up Chris Jericho, then great, they can be in his new group too. Do you know what I mean? It will just have a mega group with Santana Ortiz, Jake Hager, FTR, Tully Blanchard, Sean Spears, and Wardlow, and he'll have the most powerful, massive unit on. He maybe he didn't inform them of it because he didn't trust them that much. But if they were to have gone through with it and attacked Jericho and Sammy, then they would have been in the new Inner Circle too. Do you know what I mean? And it would have been an expanded Inner Circle. But as it stands, when they didn't go along with it, he's like, "Fuck it, still 5v5. Here they come on, boys, let's take them all out." Do you know what I mean? I think the explanation for it is very simple. I think if they'd gone along with it and attacked Jericho, they'd have been in the new Inner Circle too.
I like how personally it completely, taking out Tully Blanchard, but it completely replicated itself. You had a tag team against tag team, You had a big guy against a big guy. You had Jericho and MJF, and then you had obviously Shawn Spears versus. I like how it completely kind of mirrored itself, just with completely different people, which is quite nice. And I did see someone touch on it, and I can't remember who it is, but potentially Blood and Guts, MJF's new team versus Inner Circle.
Now we have the 5-on-5 combination again.
There you go.
Give us Blood and Guts. Patrick, thoughts about this segment?
Awesome. Also, again, like one of the best segments. Yeah, but one of the best segments. In all Dynamite now, because it was just such a perfect thing. And I can see Liam's point where he's like, oh, why is that so? But if you just think about it for a second, then you're like, it completely makes sense.
Yeah,
and also, I don't know if you
he would have just let all of them. They would have been part of his group. There's no point where they don't go together. That absolutely can make sense that they'll all be part of his group. But they chose the dark side to fuck them too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And before he joined the Inner Circle, before MJF joined the Inner Circle on the 7th of November, he gave an interview to Wrestling Inc., where he acknowledges, like, there are only 3 wrestlers in the whole roster, which he acknowledges, and this is FTR. He said they are the best tag team, and that Shawn Spears is the guy working so much. He's the working horse of AEW. No one would acknowledge it, but he acknowledges it.
Patrick,
so he gave a little spoiler back then.
Yeah, Patrick, as well, quickly, I remember seeing in earlier COVID days, when obviously more of the wrestlers were ringside, where MJF was on the hillside a lot watching matches, and he was stood next to Shawn Spears. They were having a drink together whilst watching matches during the COVID. So this proper long-term storytelling going on here.
Yes, definitely. So that was just awesome. Them showing up. I didn't expect that at all, really. And also the segment that Sammy hit his camera in, I don't know, the wall or wherever he put that and filmed that. That was just a reference to back then, where it was maybe a little illogical, but now it was completely logical that it was a hidden cam that he showed it to them. I like that. And I'm also really curious to see now if the Inner Circle will turn face. What do you guys think?
I think they are face by default now in this.
Sammy came out as a face, so
sort of maybe a sort of anti-hero face kind of thing going on. But I think
a bit like either the Joker film or the Venom film, where they are villains, but in that storyline you kind of see him as a hero, and you see you're rooting for him.
That brings us to the end of our show. Gone quite nicely, that. Well, not the end of our show, the end of our Dynamite recap anyway. We do what we gotta do, even though I think I know which way this is going to go. So I will go with one of yous first and one of yous last, just to build some fake suspense for something we know which way it's going to go. Patrick, what was your match of the night?
Women's match.
Oh, shocker that. Mine was the TNT title match between Darby Allin and Scorpio Sky. Jack?
Already said it, so I can't go back on my word now. Women's match.
Another women's match that was not the main event, taking our match of the night.
I'm intrigued to see what you give Screamer of the Week, though.
My Screamer of the Week goes to the commentary team. Bad, lazy, meta, unprofessional commentary this week. Particularly, I mean, JR, we always expect it from JR, but particularly from Tony Schiavone this week as well. Did not like it. Do better.
Do better, indeed.
Our card for next week's Dynamite, St. Patrick's Day Slam. I think we should all get drunk for this.
My name day.
Should we all get drunk?
I'm so down. I'm down. I mean, as long as we're doing it on a Thursday again.
Let's just get for our next. That'll be our themed episode because it's St. Patrick's Day Slam. We'll just get wankered on air.
I'm down. That's happening then. I'll get the beers in.
Okay,
get the beers in,
I
boys.
also get some beers. I've
got some whiskey as well.
£20 on 2 beers. So yeah.
Do it. Let's do it. Okay, the matches we have are Jade Cargill in action. Woo! Jurassic Express and Bear Country versus Matt Hardy, Private Party, The Butcher, and The Blade. With the bunny nearby, I assume. Cody Rhodes with Arn Anderson versus Penta El Zero Miedo. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus the Good Brothers. I actually called this match on Reddit. I won't give my exact comment because then people will be able to track down my Reddit account. But I called this match. I also called them playing it off like it was a joke. So it was I didn't call it. I said that's how they should book it. But whatever. Just waiting for that call from Tony. And then an unsanctioned lights out match. Anything goes between Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Thunder Rosa. Finally, another unsanctioned lights out match for Dynamite.
Yes, and finally a women's match.
Yeah, well, I mean, even though this won't be the main event because it's a lights out match, and as we know, the lights out matches don't actually count as the main event, so I assume the Good Brothers versus Mox and Kingston is technically the main event. It's the main event because it's the last one on. It's the one that will close the show. So in all but name, this is the main event, and it's you love to see it. You love to see it, especially with these two girls. This is I've said it before. I've said it today even in WhatsApp, and I'll say it again. Considering it was the worst part of AEW Dynamite last year, the women's division has been the standout highlight of AEW Dynamite this year. It's been
completely
incredible.
agree. That's where they improved. Maybe they listen to the fans. Hopefully.
Imagine that, a company that listens to the fans. Now we have, and it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We have the brand new and improved less important shows.
Less important shows.
Oh yeah! Now we're cooking on
This sounds
gas.
like a South Park jingle.
That was the idea. It's supposed to sound janky.
Can I just ask, how much did you pay for that?
I paid exactly what it's worth, Jack.
I would have charged you 1p less to do something.
That's fantastic. It's just the high class sound I was going for. Less important shows. Da-da-dun.
My job is started to become more and more irrelevant.
Obsolete. Yeah.
But no, very nice, very nice.
Very nice, wasn't it? I could have got reviews on it, but I didn't want to inconvenience her, so I was like, you know what, I'll have it. It's fine. But it adds to the jank. It's supposed to be janky, so
I like it.
I like it too. I like it.
Can we talk about the segment now?
Should we hear it again? Less important shows. Diddaloom. There's that the all-important drum roll that I've been telling you guys about. It's from my head out in the world. Less important shows. The only one we really have to talk about this week, seeing as absolutely nothing happened in WWE, or at least nothing I heard about, is the New Japan Cup is on. Would you guys like to hear about the standings so far?
I would, but quickly, I would like to quickly touch Impact pay-per-view on Saturday with Finn Juice versus the Good Brothers, and also Rich Swann versus Moose, with the winner of that facing Kenny Omega for the Impact title.
Title versus title match.
Yes. So
I don't know if the title is on the line. That's what I'm curious about. If it will be, I doubt it. But I think it's just a champion versus champion match more.
No. I think the title is on the line.
What, the AEW title or the?
I think both.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, which obviously, in my opinion, means Kenny, who's collecting all the titles, is going to become Impact champion.
That's what I want to see.
Break this down a bit for me, Jack. So what's the first thing?
So first thing is this Saturday. Check it out on Impact. You've got Moose versus Rich Swann. That is for, I believe, the Impact title.
Because Moose is also carrying around the TNA title, isn't he?
Yes.
Is it unification?
I can't remember the specifics. Patrick's on his phone, but I know basically. I think it is title versus title, and I think it's whoever.
It's about time they unify those two. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's whoever wins that gets to go up against Kenny Omega. That's what I took from it. Basically, I took it as whoever wins that versus Kenny, and then in my head I'm already saying Kenny's the winner.
And also Finn Juice in action.
Yeah, Finn Juice versus the Good Brothers, which is also a really cool match. So definitely worth checking that pay-per-view out.
You'd be really hoping Juice Robinson would show up on AEW, wouldn't you?
I put him as my the face of the
ladder match.
Yeah, the ladder match. So that's just worth mentioning. Not too much to talk about. We'll obviously talk about it next week when the pay-per-view actually happens. But just thought I'd give the fans, a little bit of glimpse on what's happening this weekend.
Okay, so in the first round of the New Japan Cup, let me run you through results. Jeff Cobb beat that's a good start. Jeff Cobb beat Satoshi Kojima. Great Okan beat Tetsuya Naito. What the hell? Due to its stoppage, I missed this. I have to go and watch this. Toriano beat Bad Luck Fale. Did see that match because I saw the first one, which also included an absolute classic between Taichi and Hiroki Goto. Hiroki Goto won that match. Shingo Takagi beat Kazuchika Okada. There's been some upsets here, mate. We got to go back and watch some of these. Minoru Suzuki beat Honma. I actually caught a bit of that match as well. Kenta beat Juice Robinson. This must have been recorded before Juice came over to the States. Will Ospreay beat Tenzan. Zack Sabre Jr. beat Gabriel Kidd. Saw that match as well. I have seen more of this than I thought. Yuji Nagata beat Yota Tsuji. I don't know who that is. It's been a while since I've watched New Japan, obviously. Sanada beat Tomohiro Ishii. David Finlay beat Chase. This is weird. So you're saying FinJuice are in the
Yes, basically, and they addressed it. I saw on a New Japan on their YouTube channel when Juice was doing a promo. Essentially, he says he is. I don't know how he's getting away with it, but essentially, he said he was flying over for it. So
sucking some dick somewhere. 'Cause,
yeah.
I mean, how's he getting through like COVID restrictions back and forth? Because he's got to get back for the next one. David Finlay beat Chase Owens anyway to go through. Yoshihashi beat Yujiro Takahashi. Jay White, I know Jack's got big things to say, beat Toa Henare. The second round matches are as follows. One of them was already taking place, and two of them already taking place. That was Evil versus Jeff Cobb. Evil beat Jeff Cobb. And Great Okan versus Toriano. Toriano won his second match. He's in the quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup. He's up against Evil. That's quite a task. So let's see if he can go all the way. Hiroki Goto versus Shingo Takagi, which will be an insane match. Make sure you tune in for that. Minoru Suzuki versus Kenta, which is also what a match that will be. And those two will probably be on the same card. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. Battle of the Brits. I'm pretty sure they are building up a kind of feud here because I saw on the undercard of the first G1 matches, Will Ospreay's United Empire, they got attacked by Suzuki Gun after the match, and there was a lot of stuff between Zack and Ospreay there, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Yuji Nagata versus Sanada. David Finlay versus Yoshihashi, and Jay White versus Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Ace. Do you think he can win it, Jack?
Well, I'm starting to turn into a little bit of a Jay White fanboy. I love watching his promos. He's got such a presence to him, and it's just, if he ever shows up on AEW, I will pop so hard. Do I think he can win it? Yeah. I mean, I think it must have been the last episode of whatever the New Japan Cup, where he was talking to the crowd. That was just about, he's got this whole storyline at the moment. He doesn't want to unify the belts because obviously he doesn't want his legacy to go. He thinks if they unify the belts, that's his history being, just rubbed out, forgotten. Yeah. So that's his argument. So I for one would love to see him go all the way. But again, there's some amazing wrestlers in the cup as well who also deserve a chance. So
if he beats Tana in the second round, he's a shoo-in for the semis, because that means he goes up against either David Finlay or Yoshihashi, which you've got to, in the quarters, which you've got to imagine is a steamrolling for either Jay White or Tanahashi. Whoever wins that is making the semis.
Yeah, for sure.
That brings us to the end of our show. It's been good to be back. I felt good.
It's been good to have you back. Yeah. I think Patrick would agree.
Great to have you back. Just a quick info in between. I was just reading on the TNA thing because that completely slipped my mind. So Moose versus Rich Swann is a title unification match,
okay,
and then they're having the title versus title match on the 24th of April. I think that's a pay-per-view I'm going to buy then first time from TNA. Sorry, Impact.
Well, it's also worth mentioning, I think, in my head, Rich Swann's going to win that because I don't think they would, do this whole Impact thing without having that dream match. Even though I do want to see Moose with the title. So it could go either way.
I think Moose versus Kenny is a bigger draw.
Yeah. You reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I've been loving a bit of Moose recently, so I
know we haven't had the 1v1, but we have kind of had Kenny versus
no, that's true. Give me Moose versus Kenny.
Kenny was against Moose in the tag team match. That was quite nice.
Yeah.
How are they going to book that, man? How are they going to book that? Because they're not. If he's only just unified the titles, they're not going to want to kill Moose's thing, and I could see that being like a big kind of thing between.
That's why maybe Rich wins it.
I mean, yeah.
This is where like an invasion angle or so can happen at one point. You know,
can you
like
imagine if they
this.
just put the title on Moose, the AEW title? Can you imagine
Yeah,
how wild
right?
that would be? Like, I don't think it's the right move business-wise. I think that would confuse too many people.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
turn them off the product. But
there's some good stuff coming out of Impact. So definitely, don't sleep on it. I know obviously people tuned in, watched the Kenny thing, and probably has dipped off since.
I'm guilty of that, to be honest.
There you go.
But I did
I was
buy
calling you
Impact
out.
Plus, and I haven't cancelled it. So
there you go. But no,
so I
definitely
have been
worth
given the
checking
money
out.
since.
I've been watching their highlights every week on YouTube. I don't watch the actual show, but I watch the highlights just so I'm in the know
you
what's
up on
going
your
on.
high horse, only watches the highlights.
No,
Fuck you,
but
as bad as the rest of us.
no, I watched the highlights and I watched the pay-per-view, the matches I care about really, because there's still some I'm not too up on. But I've definitely been learning a lot more about these wrestlers, and yeah, been loving it really.
All right. Yeah, nothing more to say other than thanks for having me back.
You're welcome back anytime.
As a German,
listen,
I
you little
always
shit.
say "Achtung, surrender," and I give it back to you.
Well, I usually end with a stolen sign-off, but I think just because I want to milk this soundbite for all it's worth, I'm just going to pass this over to my pal Paul.
Well,